from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm Aja Goare. Our top story this half hour: Congress has reached a compromise which is expected to clear the way for final passage of President Trump's tax reform plan. A vote in both chambers is expected next week, but Democrats want to slow the process down. CBS's Aja Goare has the story.
Congressional negotiators say they have reached a deal on tax reform that can pass both the House and Senate.
Closer than ever to getting across the finish line, tax reform that provides more jobs, fair taxes, and bigger paychecks for hardworking families across this country.
The combined bill would eliminate Obamacare's health insurance mandate, double the standard deduction for individuals and married couples, and allow taxpayers to deduct a combined $10,000 from state and local income and property taxes.
The IRS, this is just out, this is breaking news, has just confirmed that Americans will see lower taxes and bigger paychecks beginning in February.
Democrats say the biggest windfall would go to the wealthy and to corporations, which would see their taxes cut to 21%.
The House and Senate are expected to vote on the bill next week, giving President Trump what he has asked for, a tax reform victory before Christmas. But Democrats say that's too soon.
It would be wrong for Senate Republicans to jam through this tax bill without giving the newly elected senator from Alabama the opportunity to cast his vote.
Democrat Doug Jones defeated Roy Moore in a special election Tuesday, but he won't be seated until January. Mitch McConnell says the tax vote will proceed as planned. Aja Goare, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Senator Bob Corker is the only Republican senator to announce he will vote against the plan. The GOP can afford to lose one more vote and still pass the bill. Meanwhile, a Kentucky state lawmaker accused of molesting a teenager is dead from an apparent suicide. Police say 57-year-old Dan Johnson shot himself yesterday on a bridge not far from his home near Louisville. A day earlier, he denied molesting a 17-year-old in 2013. About 2 hours before his death, Johnson posted on Facebook that the accusations are false, and he said he could no longer handle his PTSD. Missoula authorities are searching for a person of interest following the discovery of a box of human bones at a rental property. The human remains believed to be that of 3 young children.
Loose teeth. There was what appeared to be a bone from a lower jaw, and others that were not as specifically described, but I would call them pieces of bone. There was also rocks in this box.
A University of Montana anthropology professor confirms the remains are of children under the age of 10. The box containing the remains was discovered by a cleaning crew hired to clean up a Missoula rental property after its tenant was evicted. Follow-up investigations revealed no evidence of a crime occurring at that property. Authorities do tell MTN they have a person of interest they want to speak with, but stress that person is not a suspect. The children's identities and the cause and manner of their death is now under investigation. It's unknown how old the bones might be or how long they've been there. We now know the name of the man shot and killed by Great Falls police on Monday. The Fergus County coroner identifies the man as 51-year-old Stacy Micheletti of Great Falls. Police shot and killed Micheletti before noon Monday after they say he brandished a weapon. It's unclear why police were pursuing Micheletti, but authorities did say he was wanted for questioning in connection with an earlier incident. The officers involved have not been identified. One person is dead and at least one other injured after a crash east of Helena last night. The Montana Highway Patrol reports an SUV was traveling on US 12 when it veered into oncoming traffic. The Lewis and Clark County coroner reports 26-year-old Kyle Boundy, who was a passenger in that SUV, was killed in the crash. The driver was transported to the hospital. Meanwhile, the people in the other vehicle drove themselves to the hospital. MHP is investigating. A fire at a Billings business caused $20,000 in damages. Firefighters responded to the blaze on Grand Avenue Thursday evening. The fire was in a storage building behind A1 Rentals. Fire officials say the shed, along with the majority of its contents, were burned. No one was inside at the time and no injuries were reported. The cause of that fire is under investigation. After the Rice Ridge fire forced evacuations in Sealy Lake this summer, Federal funding is now coming in to help business owners who lost out on the typically busy tourist season. The fire burned more than 150,000 acres and effectively shut down Seeley Lake for the second half of the summer season. Evacuations and lake closures, along with heavy smoke, kept tourists away. Missoula County officials say the U.S. Small Business Administration is coming through with SBA disaster loans to help businesses recoup some of their losses. The loans provide working capital to businesses that qualify with a fixed interest rate of 4% and maximum loans of up to $2 million. Businesses in surrounding counties may also be eligible. We turn now to the weather scene, and we're not talking about fires so much as we're talking about snow.
That's right. We had the western portion of the state, Asia. We had a lot of problems with some very slick roadways, some very hazardous travel as well because of low visibility. But as we start looking ahead into the next couple of days, we're going to start to see a little bit of a shift in the overall weather pattern as we'll start to watch a cold front move through late on Friday. It's going to bring areas of rain, snow, and wind. We'll show you more of that. And then it stays fairly quiet, but we'll still be watching late next week with colder and wetter weather to follow, and that could start to influence your plans for Christmas travel. Take a look at all of that coming up with a forecast just a few minutes from now.
Thanks, Ed. We'll check back in. Protesters are gathering near the Federal Communications Commission in Washington, D.C. to voice their opposition to today's vote to end net neutrality. The Obama-era rulings ensured internet service providers like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T treat all website and content equally. Now, in other words, the guidelines prevent providers from choosing favorites. Today's vote ran along party lines with the Commission's Republican members in favor of unraveling the 2015 net neutrality rules. The panel's 2 Democrats voted against the measure, with the final tally at 3-2 in favor of overturning net neutrality. While internet service companies say consumers won't notice a change, they have also lobbied for net neutrality's overturn, arguing that fewer regulations will allow them to innovate and deliver new services to consumers. Now, those against today's ruling say it allows internet providers to mute free speech and gouge customers.
I know for me, the internet has been able to change my life and allowed me to change other people's lives by having this free forum to be able to speak. And that is supposedly what this country is all about, right? You're supposedly supposed to be able to speak freely. You're supposed to have that space to speak. The problem is that when we start putting dollar signs on that, we are now limiting people from having the opportunity to not only give information, but also to receive information. And I think all of us here know that knowledge is what? And so if only a certain people have access to knowledge, that means only a certain people have access to power. And we have to stay empowered.
Public interest groups, free press, and public knowledge are already promising to fight that decision in court. Still ahead on the noon news, today marks a deadly day in U.S. history with the anniversary of the Sandy Hook massacre. Details when we return. But first, Ed has our weather forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching MTN News with Aja Goare, Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh, and farm and ranch news from the Northern Egg Network. This is the news.